This is always comforting. So the State Department point man on North Korea, a guy named Jo Yun, he is 63 years old. He has been working at the State Department for decades. 3 decades of service, more than. He is the special representative for North Korea policy, Deputy Assistant Secretary for Korea and Japan. Supposedly, his resignation reflects the widespread frustration within the State Department at diplomats' relative lack of power in the Trump administration. This is according to someone familiar with Yun's thinking. Now, remember, it was just a couple of weeks ago that, what was his name? Brand? The number 3 at the DOJ resigned to go get some type of crappy or not so, well-paying, I'm sure, corporate job, which she could have gotten at any time in the future. However, she didn't want to be a part of the crap show that she thought was coming down the pike. I don't know if Jo Yun feels the same way. It strikes me that I think it's fairly obvious right now that if you were to look over an extended period of time, our relations with North Korea are not at an all-time high in terms of good relations. I don't know if they're at an all-time low. Obviously not an all-time low. We had a war with them. But in terms of this era, it's quite possible that we are in the most precarious times. Usually guys like this, and I don't know, I've talked to some, but I don't know what's in this guy's heart. Usually guys like this are like, if I can help prevent something horrible from happening, I'm going to do that. And they stay. If they feel like there's no way for them to prevent something horrible from happening, they might want to leave. I don't know. But Yun said, the Washington Post, "This is my own personal decision. Secretary Tillerson has told me he appreciates my service and did not want me to go, but he accepts it reluctantly." I mean, is there some signaling going on there with that? A little bit.
It's okay. I'm sure they'll replace him with someone great like Dennis Rodman.
Right, exactly.
No, I think Dennis Rodman would actually be quite good in the context of this administration. He's diplomacy oriented and has relationships on the ground there. I actually think he would be a
best case scenario
miracle appointment for this administration.
Fair point.
Yeah.
I'd like to remind you that, as far as I know, we still don't have an ambassador to South Korea. So it's quite possible he won't be replaced. And that, yes, it is the case that Dennis Rodman would be above the mean for this administration. Speaking of this administration, here's Donald Trump addressing what that question of North Korea in a joint press conference with the Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull, who is famous for having mocked Donald Trump. If you are watching this, you will see the look of a man who is trying desperately not to show that he thinks he's standing next to a lunatic.
On North Korea, the sanctions, if they don't work, are all options still on the table? Can I get your answer and also the Prime Minister's thoughts?
Well, to the second, we'll have to see. I don't think I'm going to exactly play that card, but we'll have to see. If the sanctions don't work, we'll have to go phase 2. And phase 2 may be a very rough thing, may be very, very unfortunate for the world. But hopefully the sanctions will work. We have tremendous support all around the world for what we're doing.
Pause it. Now there's Malcolm Turnbull just looking like, got to keep, he's got his jaw locked. You see that? He's got his the bottom teeth are just sort of like, he's literally biting his tongue. And we just go back because you know what this is reminiscent of, Donald Trump saying phase 2? It's like, we're turning it up to 11. We will turn it
Definitely
up to 11.
a turning it up to 11 moment.
I've just have to go phase 2. And phase 2 may be a very rough thing, may be very, very unfortunate for the world. But hopefully the sanctions will work. We have tremendous support all around the world for what we're doing. It really is a rogue nation. If we can make a deal, it'll be a great thing. And if we can't, something will have to happen.
He has an
There you
awful,
go.
awful poker face.
Can you imagine?
Malcolm
like,
Turnbull is
yeah,
just
exactly.
terrible poker face.
Can you
dude.
imagine though the idea of like it'll be a really sad thing for the world, but we'll do it.
The look on Turnbull's face was like a Muppet. Someone was controlling a Muppet, but made a fist.
Yeah,
while they're controlling the mouse.